Hello and welcome to the 11th Annual Children's Advocacy Day at the Capitol. I'm Jordan Cottrell, a sophomore at Madison Central High School and a proud member of the Berea College Gear Up program. I'm excited to be here today to raise my voice for children all across Kentucky and ask my legislators to stand up for children during this legislative session. Over the next few moments, you will hear from the many youth and advocates from across Kentucky. You will get to join in on celebrating the many Champion for Children awards that will be presented to our elected officials, hear remarks from our Lieutenant Governor, and also see some amazing performances, like our dancers, all across today. Now, in this rally, it is a time for us to join together, to be inspired, and make our voices heard. Now, I'd like to thank you all for taking your time and joining in on the Children's Advocacy Day, and thank you to the many sponsors and organizations that made today possible. And I would also like to give a special thank you to Mr. Terry Wilson for giving me the opportunity to talk to you all today. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Dr. Terry Brooks, Executive Director at Kentucky Youth Advocates.
I don't know, after Jordan, don't you think we can just go ahead and leave? Jordan, you did a great job, and I know you do that, but I want to take just a second because all of you may have a lot of pride when you hear someone like Jordan. I have a feeling the person who is most proud right now is somebody named Jordan's dad. Would you stand up so we can say thanks for... Well, as Jordan said, this is sort of like the Super Bowl for children's advocates across Kentucky. This is the 11th year that we've had a Children's Advocacy Day. I remember really distinctly, she probably will not, but when this event started, Lieutenant Governor Llewellyn was in a different position, and I had talked to her, and we had an event where we drew almost 20 people, and she said, maybe you want to grow that a little bit. We've grown it. When you look around, we got people on the third floor, so that's really good. So you know what today is about. We at Kentucky Youth Advocates and our partners believe that there's no more important mission than to make Kentucky the best place in America to be young. And until we achieve that, we still have unfinished business. We know that making Kentucky the best place in America to be involves lots of folks. It involves pediatricians and principals and social workers and moms and dads and neighbors on an everyday basis, but we also know that it requires lawmakers, the governor, and other elected officials to make a difference for kids, and that's what today is about. You have materials around the Blueprint for Kentucky's Children, so you know the key issues that we're advocating on during the 2015 session. And while today is such an important day, we just want to emphasize to you that it's really the kickoff. What you do the rest of today and what you do the rest of the session as the General Assembly meets, that's going to determine whether Kentucky kids become just a little closer to that goal of making Kentucky the best place to be in America. A major piece of improving the lots of Kentucky's children are champions. In a few moments, we're going to recognize legislators who took blueprint priorities from former years and made them a reality. We're going to recognize officials within Governor Beshear's cabinet who we believe have created a legacy for kids in Kentucky. But other leaders who play such an important role in children's lives come from local communities. There is not anywhere in this state that there are not folks who are community leaders who don't care about kids in all 120 counties. So this year we wanted to begin an inaugural award where we recognized a community leader who was a true champion for children. You know, the Super Bowl just concluded, and there were a lot of NFL teams, but there was only one NFL champion. Kind of like that, when we look at community leaders throughout Kentucky, there are so many folks making a difference for children. But I have to tell you, it was very clear who the Super Bowl winner was when it came to that. And that is Randy Coe, who is the CEO of Kosare Charities. Several folks in this audience know the story that Randy and his colleagues at Kosare Charities a couple years ago decided to begin a campaign not to reduce child abuse, but to eliminate it before Kosare Charities turned 100 years old. And in that role, Randy has led that effort in the first couple years, and whether that's policies in Frankfort or practices on the ground with agencies, he personally is making a difference every day. So it is with a lot of humility and sincerity, Randy, that I want to give you the very first Community Leader Champion for Children. If you know anything about Kosare Charities, you know that they believe that children are the most precious gift of all. Their kite symbolizes that. So we didn't want to just give you a plaque, we wanted to give you a special kite. So Randy, come up here and let's welcome him.
There's a busy day today. There's a lot of great work yet to be done for kids that some of us will never know. What we do as Shriners, what we do as Americans, what we do as citizens, is try to make the world a better place for all of us. And it's so great to see all these young people here who are going to be the future for me and the future for all of us. Crit Llewellyn, tremendous leader. There's a great cast of characters trying to make a child's life better. Personally, I represent thousands of people who make this sort of a recognition possible. So the very small role that I play, it's God leads you to do things, God fills you, and you just do His work. Thank you.
Lawmakers and community leaders are important. I also believe that business leaders throughout the Commonwealth have a unique opportunity to make a difference for kids. And I have to tell you, a business leader who I think exemplifies the best in what we want, where a business leader sticks to his knitting within his business, but understands there is some commitment and obligation to the broader good. Frankly, nobody exemplifies that more than Mark Carter, who is the CEO of Passport. And to bring that perspective to the table and to kick the rest of the rally off, Mark, thanks for joining us.
Well, this is very impressive. I have to say, I made some notes, and I was obviously watching Jordan speak extemporaneously there without notes, and was very impressed. So that's a hard act to follow, Jordan. It's my privilege to lead Passport Health Plan, which is a Kentucky-based Medicaid health plan, but also to have been in the business community in Lexington and Louisville, Kentucky for 35 years. As part of my business experience, I got to travel the state of Kentucky, and one thing that you learn in a business like I was in, which was the public accounting business, is you really have to do a good job of educating children, providing for their physical and emotional health, and it becomes a workforce issue for the business community in Kentucky. We need constantly to have new blood coming into our businesses, and obviously it's something that we're very committed to at Passport as well. I'm also a grandparent, and Terry left out grandparents when he was talking about the importance to kids, and I can tell by looking at the crowd, despite the energy and the youth, there's also a few other grandparents here, and so from that standpoint, that is meaningful to me in the work that we do at Passport. At Passport, we really strive to put the members that are assigned to us first, and we've had a long focus on children. For many years, about 70 to 75% of Passport's members were mothers and children, and it's still a significant percentage of our business today. We do things that many others in the business community do, but I think we make a particular commitment to it in that we have grants programs. Last year we gave almost $500,000 in grants that were mostly focused on children and youth issues. We operate the plan with a focus on quality first, and what we're doing there is trying to look for improvements in health and health status. And two of our quality goals focus essentially on reducing the level of prematurity and helping mothers give birth to healthy children. So Passport has a singular focus, well, it's not a singular focus, but a significant focus on the children of our state. One final thought, and then I'll turn it over to the children. It's one of the joys of my position is I get to I've made a lot of friends in the advocacy community, and I really appreciate Terry Brooks. I think he's as he talked about Randy and his stature. You know, Terry and the role he plays at Kentucky Youth Advocates is very significant. But there's an army of advocates, as we can see here, that are focused on children and youth issues. So without further ado, I think what everybody came to hear is to hear from some of Kentucky's youth. And so I'm going to invite the first one up to the podium. And I hope that this will be energizing to all of you as you go forth and advocate on behalf of our children. Thank you on behalf of Passport Health Plan.
Hello. Hello, my name is Edith Coutone, and I am from Jefferson County, and I am here to ensure that my educators are trained on the warning signs of child abuse.
Good morning, my name is Tatiana. I'm from Eminence Independent Schools, and I'm here to make Kentucky the best place in America to be young.
Hello? 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 My name is Trevor Helton. I attend the Academy at Shawnee in Jefferson County, and I am here to ensure that kids all across Kentucky are safe, healthy, and secure.
Hello everyone, my name is Rachel Rourks and I am from Holy Cross High School, and I'm here today to ensure that all teen victims of dating violence have access to protective orders.
Hi, I'm Joseph Bartram from Jefferson County, and I'm here to stand up for children and youth in need.
Good morning, I'm Cindy McCollum from Placid County High School, and I'm here to ensure that kids are protected from secondhand smoking with the statewide smoke-free law.
I'm Fabian Leon from Jessamine County, and I'm here to ensure that our legislators will pass laws that will help empower and help out the children and youth in Kentucky.
Hi, I'm Ellie Tarter, and I'm from Southwestern High School, and I'm here because I know my voice matters to my elected leaders.
Hello, my name is Hannah Kennedy, and I'm from Pulaski County, and I'm here because I know that the decisions that my elected leaders make today will not only impact me now, but also in the future.
Hello, Mackenzie Benson from Pulaski County High School, and I'm here to ensure that children have the support they need in order to start learning at a young age.
We could probably end the rally right about now, but we'll go on for a little longer. I'm Andrea Bennett at Kentucky Youth Advocates, and I think for all of the adults here today, it's important for us to remember that the kids who just spoke, that's why we're here. We're here for those youth, and we're here for the over 1 million children and youth that live in Kentucky. And we have a big responsibility if we're going to advocate on behalf of children. So we thank you all for coming today. For the nearly 200 youth who are here today to meet with their elected officials, we want to thank you for coming and speaking up to your elected officials, because your voice does matter. So thank you very much for that. Now this is a rally, right? So we are going to invite the dance team to come back up and help us get excited to be at this rally for kids today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Andrea thanked all the young people who were here, and some of you know I'm an old broken down principal, so I know that they're here because they care about kids, but hey, there's 200 kids who didn't have to go to school today, so that's why you're excited, see? All right. So we've talked about community leaders like Randy Coe, and we've talked about business leaders like Mark Carter. We also have to talk about elected leaders and also folks who serve in the governor's office because they're the folks where the rubber hits the road. So we want to recognize a number of state leaders today for what they've done when it comes to kids. We want to open, when we talked about legislators, there were a number of folks that we wanted to recognize. I'd like to begin by inviting Senate President Stivers to come up. There's a lot about Senator Stivers that I so admire. If you watch him when he talks about issues, he has to be like the smartest cat in town. There's nothing you talk to him about that he doesn't seemingly have an encyclopedic knowledge on. I love the way he handles dealings in the chamber. But I'll tell you, when I think of President Stivers, here's what I think about mostly. And you may not even remember this, but we had a Step Up for Kids Day event in Manchester, and we had a couple hundred folks come. And for an hour and a half, what Senator Stiver did was not talk at all. He listened. He listened to folks talk about what child care cuts had done. He listened to folks talk about what poverty was doing. He listened to folks talk about what it meant to be a grandma or a grandpa raising a kid. And then in a really pretty remarkable fashion, he synthesized what he heard and talked straight at him about what Frankfort could and couldn't do to help their situation. He got it. It is awfully hard to find a good leader. It is really hard to find a great leader who listens greatly. Senator Stivers, I really appreciate that you are a great leader who listens greatly, and we invite you to bring some remarks.
Well, first of all, let me say thank you for the recognition and this award and the kind words, but I want to give you a little bit of my philosophy and why I try to do what I can. Sometimes I say that I wear the shoe if it fits, good or bad, right or wrong. But when we look around, and I still call her Secretary Lou Allen, but now she's Lieutenant Governor Lou Allen. I've been around here that long that I remember those days that she was the cabinet secretary or the chief cabinet secretary of all cabinets. We have assets and resources. We talk about our roads, we talk about our infrastructure, we talk about our sewers and water lines, we talk about our universities, we talk about our buildings and things of that nature. But with a brief comment, when we think about assets and resources, our greatest assets and our greatest resources are here today. And it's these children that we are here to do well for, promote, and make sure, as Mr. Brooks said, that Kentucky is the best place for a child to grow up. Thank you, and I appreciate the recognition.
We talked last year that part of being an advocate for kids is understanding the rhythm of the General Assembly. Folks at KYA get tired of hearing me use these comparisons, but I always talk about microwave items and crock pot items. I loved a microwave item last year that happened. One of the things that I'd like for you to do for just a second is to picture, depending on if you wear red or blue, you can picture either Commonwealth Stadium or Papa John's Stadium at standing room only. That's the number of children in Kentucky today who live in kinship care. There is not a state in the country that has a higher rate of children living with grandmas and grandpas and aunts and uncles than does Kentucky. And as frequently happens, laws and regulations don't catch up with reality. So last year, we talked to folks in both chambers and kept bringing this attention to them. Senator Denise Harper Angel got it. She stepped up. She worked with Senate leadership and was able to pass really a first and I think a door-opening bill to make sure that those grandmas and grandpas raising their grandchildren had access to medical homes, had better access to the K-12 education system. So on behalf of that stadium full of kids, Senator Harper Angel, thanks so much, and we'd invite you to come up and receive your award. If the kinship issue was a microwave issue, the total opposite was a crockpot issue, and that's called juvenile justice. The ideas of some fundamental reforms in juvenile justice began in earnest 8 years ago. It would go a little ways and get beaten back. The next year it'd go a little further, get pushed back. Next year a little further, get pushed back. There were a number of folks who stood up and stood up strong last year. They frankly pushed back against some pretty strong forces who continued to want the juvenile justice system to operate for the convenience of adults rather than the benefits of children. But they wouldn't back down. And I think they call themselves sort of an odd trio of folks. But I'd like to take just a second and invite you to applaud the courage and persistence of 3 state leaders. First of all, Secretary Michael Brown. Secondly, Judiciary Chair of the House, John Tilley. And finally, Senate Judiciary Chair, Whitney Westerfield. If the 3 of you would come up and we can recognize your accomplishments. Well, we've talked about President Stivers being a listener. We've talked about a microwave win. We've talked about a crock pot win. I want to talk about somebody who I think is sneaky good for kids. I had a cup of coffee after the last legislative session, and a business leader came up to me, and due to the youth here, I'm going to clean it up, but this person said, how in the world did the kids' agenda kick the posterior of the business community? I mean, last year's budget, due in part to Governor Beshear, due in part to Speaker Stumbo, due in part to President Stivers, kids scored victory after victory after victory in the budget process. But I have a feeling that one of the quiet, unsung champions in the budget process, a guy who is sneaky good for kids, a leader who kind of just knows how to ask the right questions and how to analyze the numbers in a way that benefits children. And what I so appreciate is I think this guy does so much with so little public acclaim. Representative Rand, we really appreciate all you do for kids in Kentucky. As we indicated when we started, one of the persistent priorities that we have when it comes to the blueprint is around child abuse and neglect. We frankly, in the last few years, have gone from, we're not going to be satisfied until there's not a single child who suffers that in Kentucky. But boy, that is an arena where we have made such significant progress. And when you think about the progress, it hasn't been one big win. It hasn't been that, long touchdown pass, but we're combating that issue bite by bite. And last year, a significant piece of legislation happened. When we looked at numbers, one of the things that we had discovered is that over half the children in Kentucky who died from abuse and neglect had been in a medical home within 2 weeks prior to their death. What that suggested was not that medical professionals didn't care, but they didn't know what to look for. So Representatives Wuchner and Westrom last year put together a bipartisan approach to tackle the issue. Because of their persistence and because of their leadership, today doctors throughout Kentucky are mandated to make sure they know what that bruise on the back of that 3-year-old's child's ear may mean. The feedback that doctors are giving us has been unbelievably positive. They believe they are in a much stronger position to wage a campaign to protect Kentucky's kids. I have to give you a heads up. This year one of our priorities is to make that same kind of protection available through training of K-12 professionals. We want to build on what was started last year, and what was started last year gets the credit to Representatives Wuchner and Westrom. Thank you all so much for what you do. We're on great time, so I'm going to do this. I want you to take 30 seconds, and I'd really like for you to be really quiet, and I would like for you to think about the issue that is facing Kentucky's children that you think is the most important. So, what is the issue that Kentucky's kids face today that you think is the biggest challenge we have to making Kentucky the best place in America to be young? I'm going to time us. If we went around and asked each of you what that issue was, and we thought about where it laid in state government, there are two people who would be involved in every one of those issues. And that's DCBS Commissioner Teresa James and Cabinet Secretary Audrey Haynes. There is not an issue that is confronting kids and families in Kentucky that they're not in the middle of. And I think they would both tell you that folks on the Blueprint and KYA, we fuss and we fight and we collaborate. In fact, I have not talked to Secretary Haynes about an issue since 11 o'clock last night, correct? So I haven't seen her for a while. But here is what I so admire about Teresa and Audrey. First of all, they have created an environment which I haven't seen in that cabinet for a long time. It's openness and access. You can come and fuss and fight about this issue, and the next day you can be at that same table working together. That's pretty rare for leaders. Secondly, I think they have brought rare imagination to a very complex issue. I was talking to my good friend Charlie Baker back there before the rally began, and we talked about the absolute difficulty that DCBS frontline staff implementing broad health care reforms. I mean, the cabinet has a very, very difficult job. But what Audrey and Teresa always do is they bring thoughtfulness and ethics to whatever decision is being made. So I respect you when I fight with you, and I love you when we agree with you. So would both of you come up and be recognized? I hope you're picking up a theme. We want to keep reminding you that making Kentucky the best place to be young is a job for elected leaders, it's a job for appointed leaders, it's a job for community leaders, it's a job for business leaders. And wow, in the midst of all that policy and politic discussion, we got to keep focused on what counts. To help remind us what counts, we have some very outstanding performers from Southside Christian Daycare. Would you guys come up and give us some music? Thank you.
T-H-A-K-Y-O-U, thank you, thank you. T-H-A-K-Y-O-U, thank you, thank you. T-H-A-N-K-Y-O-U, T-H-A-N-K-Y-O-U.
I don't think stage fright goes away when you're older either, so we appreciate the kids being brave today. We do want to thank a couple of legislators who are in the audience today. Senator Parrott came by and Representative David Hale, so thank you so much for coming. So you have heard from children, you have heard from legislators, you have heard from elected leaders and the business community, and we could not think of a better person to help us close out our rally than Lieutenant Governor Crit Llewellyn. She is a native Kentuckian. She is one of the most experienced public officials that we know, and I can tell you from Kentucky Youth Advocate's perspective, we believe she is able to work on both sides of the aisle to do what is best for Kentucky, to put aside party politics and really do what's best for kids and families in this state. And we are so excited she would take time to speak with us today. And just so you know, she is taking extra time because she is actually going to be speaking to the nearly 200 youth today after this rally, and we are thankful she would spend some hours with us. So I'm going to introduce Lieutenant Governor Crit Llewellyn.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Terry Brooks, what a wonderful job you do. And I do remember the very beginning of this rally, and to see this incredible turnout today is really remarkable. You know, less than 2 weeks ago, there were tears in this rotunda as former Senator and Governor Wendell Ford lay in state. And those of us with gray hair who've been around spent a lot of time over the days of his memorial services talking about the past in Kentucky, talking about leadership, talking about people we remembered, stories we remembered during the era that Senator Ford was in leadership. And today, for those of us with gray hair who have walked these halls for many years, it is so rewarding and so encouraging to today see not tears, but to see hope, and to see these bright young faces representing the future of Kentucky, from the very smallest who've just joined us to those who have spoken so eloquently. Jordan, I don't want to be around when you run for office because you've got a great future, as do so many of these bright young people who have committed themselves to being engaged in the public arena. On behalf of Governor Beshear, I want to thank the Kentucky Youth Advocates and all of the sponsors for this remarkable event and for all you do each day, Terry, you and your team, to energize and engage advocates for young people in Kentucky. And I'm also looking forward, as Andrea has said, to speaking later to the young people separately at their luncheon event. You know, in my over 30 years of public service, I've worked for 6 Kentucky governors before running myself for office. So I've had an opportunity to strengthen education, our children and families, and their quality of life. But now it's truly an honor to stand in partnership with Governor Steve Beshear. I quickly accepted his offer to join his administration because I've watched as he has led Kentucky with a steady hand through a dire financial crisis. He's worked to protect education, he's steadily created new jobs, and he will leave as his greatest legacy a healthier Kentucky. But for us today, this is about saluting you. It's about the advocacy roles that you play and our ability in the administration to reach out with a thank you and a deep appreciation to you for that advocacy. I know from my years in public service that children have and continue to face many challenges in this state, including poverty, access to quality health care, access to quality education, and serious health needs. But the message today is not about the problems, it's about the difference you can make, because Kentucky kids need you. Education and increased programs for our youngest citizens are areas where Governor Beshear has made investments that will help Kentucky's next generation of leaders. Just last session, despite a tough budget, the governor made significant investments in our schools and in our children. He had already increased the number of kids who receive health coverage, and today, through his efforts, nearly 596,000 young people in Kentucky are served by K-CHIP. And he supported reforms in our juvenile justice system and the restoration of child care support for parents through programs like CCAP, which we anticipate will serve as many as 31,000 children each month by the end of this fiscal year. I want to congratulate the members of the Beshear administration who were recognized here today for all of those efforts, and also the legislators who have emerged as true champions for the children in Kentucky. The governor and these legislators could not have made these areas move forward or these investments without your guidance and your voices of support. So let me reassure you today that your voice does matter. It matters every single day in how public policy is formed in this state. But we all have more work to do, and that's why you're here today, and that's why we're here today. We hope you'll actively support the governor's legislative agenda this legislative session. Among a variety of issues, we'll be pushing for legislation regarding booster seats, ensuring that we meet the federal highway safety officials and pediatricians' recommendations for booster seats for kids up to age 9 and 57 inches tall. Too many kids are becoming trauma patients because of that gap in our law. We'll also be pushing for early childhood programs to be improved, asking for additional accountability and transparency throughout the child care system. We'll also be asking for your support to extend protective orders to victims of dating violence across Kentucky to protect our youth from experiencing or witnessing violence. And critically, we'll be asking you to support smoke-free legislation. We must protect children from the dangers of secondhand smoke by enacting statewide comprehensive smoke-free laws. This is one of the most critical things we can do to turn around the dramatically difficult health challenges our people face. I believe that there's not a single person who has a public responsibility in Kentucky who should be able to sleep at night as long as we have the highest mortality rate for cancer in America. And by enacting a smoke-free law, we can take head-on one of the single most important issues facing us, and that is smoking and lung disease that are affecting way too many families directly and through secondhand smoke. I was sworn in here just a couple of months ago in this rotunda, and I said then, I believe in public service because I believe in Kentucky. And I share Governor Beshear's vision that by working together we can continue to set Kentucky on the right path. I look at our past and I know we have the strength and the ability as a people to build the future that the citizens of Kentucky so richly deserve, and that future starts with our children. I encourage you to talk to your elected leaders not just today, but throughout the session and throughout the entire year. They need to hear from you about what decisions should be made to strengthen families and improve child outcomes. And continue to partner with us over this next year and support Governor Beshear's ongoing efforts in this last year of his administration. We need you, we need your voice. The children of Kentucky need you, and they're counting on you. Thank you so much.
We are nearing the end of our rally, and as soon as I'm done giving some announcements, I'm going to invite the dance team to come back up, and I hope if you didn't join in the chant before that you will join with it this time. I know Senator Westerfield was very loud on that front. Just a couple of announcements. If you did not get to register before the rally, you can head right upstairs afterwards and get your booklet. It has the agenda for the day, room numbers, committee hearing times, and room numbers, so please go pick that up. Secondly, if you have questions throughout the day, please go to the Annex Room 339. KYA staff will be there to answer questions that you might have. There's no dumb questions, so please come by. And we will also have resources from our sponsors in that room as well. We hear that the smoke-free bill will be heard in Health and Welfare in the House Committee today at noon. So if you want to come by and support that bill, please go to the Health and Welfare Committee at 12 noon, and you can hopefully see that bill pass committee today. And then finally, if you want to learn more about the priorities that we're supporting today, we have many seminars starting at 11:30 in Annex Room 113. They are 30-minute seminars on each of the 4 legislative priorities. So we would encourage you to come and hear from different experts in the field talk about those issues, help prep you for your legislative meetings. Finally, a couple of bills got filed yesterday, so the bill numbers are not in your booklet, but the Child Abuse Training for Educators got filed. It's Senate Bill 119 in the Senate, sponsored by Senator Julie Rocky Adams, and Representative Rita Smart filed House Bill 301. It's a companion bill on child abuse prevention, so take note of that. It just got filed yesterday, so it's not in your booklet. So that is all the announcements I think I have. Thank you so much to the Lieutenant Governor, all of our elected leaders and state officials for being here today, and for all of the youth and advocates here as well. And I'm going to invite the dance team to come back up and send us out.